Good evening, everyone. First and foremost, I would like to thank Professor Jai Carlo Colelli, Professor Maria Sonandes, and Dr. Sandras to giving me such a good opportunity to be part of the discussion panel at the IHC 2026. It is very unfortunate that I cannot join in personally, but I will do my best to give response to all the questions. So let's delve into question number one, and I will answer the questions based on my research experiences with wide collections of Thai medicinal herbs. And these two are my former publications. During the COVID-19 pandemic, we saw real industrial-led partnership from almost overnight. Demand for herbal remedy such as Endogalphis paniculata, or what we know in Thai, Fathalai in particular, and also Bosenbergia rotunda spike, and industry came directly to us asking which phenotypes actually perform best for this use. That's a genuine partnership strategy working in real time, and it's produced something concrete. We were able to select the best performing genotypes for industrial use, backed by solid published sign and phenotype chemotype relationships. But I want to be honest with the panel about what the case study also exposed as a limitation. That the partnership happened because of personal connections and crisis-driven urgency, not because Thailand has a structure mechanism for industry research collaboration on biodiversity species. There was no government support behind it, and critically, no initiative to build the brand around what we found. We did the hard science, genotype selection, characterization, publication, and that part work. What did not happen is the next step, turning we found the best genotype into a brand marketed facing product with staying power beyond the emergency that created the demand. So my answer to what strategies have worked is two sides. Partnership can work and work well here, but only the personal connection and hawk version. What missing in Thailand is the institutional version, government-backed partnership mechanism and deliberate bioeconomy branding investments so that the next good genotype we select does not depend on another crisis to find a market. So about this question, what doesn't work in Thailand is that food security policy is built around the problem that the government foresee, not the need of people actually have. I have direct evidence of this from our fieldwork in Myanmar refugee camp on the Thai-Myanmar border. The humanitarian and government response structure almost entirely around carry insufficiency of food basket size by overall calorie intake. But when you actually go in and look at what's missing, the real gap isn't calorie, it's diversity. Culturally significant vegetable like Solanum species and legume were scarce. Food diversity was reduced to papaya as the only options, and traditional food and medicinal plant, the elderly news are now dismissed by younger generation as just weed. That knowledge is disappearing because displacement broke the chain between the elders and the youths. So the government's foresee problem is enough calorie. The real need is dietary diversity and the preservation of the traditional knowledge that sustained it. That mismatch is the policy failure and is not unique to refugee setting. is the same pattern I see in how extensions and research funding get allocated more broadly. Institutions fund what they have already decided the problem is, not what a proper need assessment on the ground would show. The second problem sits right next to the first one in a completely different setting, even where a former government channel does exist. The Ministry of Education school lunch program, where in principle schools can grow their own local food and feed it directly into student lunches, it failed for the same underlying reasons. The policy named the right goal on paper, but there's no institutional mechanism behind it to actually deliver. Recent research on this program found that across a 10-school study, only 2 schools actually sought fruit and vegetables from local farms. There's still no dedicated policy framework on streamlined funding for school farm collaboration. The per meal budget, roughly about 20 to 36 baht a day, is tight, and the administrative burdens of assessing what guidance funding does exist discourage school from even trying. So, this isn't a success story. It's the same structure failure as the refugee camp case, just in a different context. Government identify local food as the goal, set up a channel that looked right on the paper, but never built the dedicated funding and streamlined partnership that would let the channel actually carry local agrobiodiversity into practice at scale. As a researcher, the point I would push back on is treating wild edible species as one category with one solution. Quotas, certification, sustainable harvest protocols. The ecological risk actually depend on which part of the plants you are harvesting, and that's what our work on Bosenbergia rotunda and other wild edible species has forced us to confront directly. Finger roots economically and medicinally valuable part is the rhizome. That's fundamentally different from a leaf harvesting species. With something like Xiengda, you can pick leaves and the plants keep growing. With a rhizome crop, wild collection means digging up and removing the underground structure that is the plant's persisting organ. You are not harvesting from the individual, you are disturbing or removing the entire individual, and often disturbing the surrounding soils and neighboring plants in the process. So for the species like this, sustainable wild harvest quota is the wrong tools. That's exactly why our cultivation and selection work on Bosenbergia and comparable species has focused on moving rhizome production out of the wild entirely, selecting lines that propagate reliably from rhizome division or shoot culture so cultivated stock can supply the market and wild population simply aren't the harvest source anymore. That is the direct research answer to this question. For whole plants or underground organs harvest species, this domestication isn't one option among several. It's close to the only real option if you want both commercialization and wild population survive. So my framing for the panels: scale the response to the plant's own biological, underground organ and whole plant harvest species such as rhizome, root, tuber, bark, needs aggressive cultivation and breeding investment, because wild harvest of this species is close to inherently unsustainable at any commercial volumes. For renewable plant species such as leaf, fruit, seeds are where the quota certification monitoring toolkits actually has room to work, because the individual plant survives the harvest event. If I had to prioritize one thing, it would not be more characterization research. We are good at that. And my own work on Chiengda, Fatalai and Bosenbergia proved the sites derivatives. But what missing every single time is the next step, a formal pathway that take research findings, validated genotypes, a documented traditional food species, a viable domestication protocol, and carry them into something institutions actually recognize. A procurement list and extension program, a funded breeding pipeline, and a brand. Right now, that handoff depends on who you happen to know, which crisis happens to hit, and which ministry happen to run a program. Over the next 3 years, I would want ISHS and research body to focus on building the pathway, a standardized share route from we characterize this species to this species is formally recognized and supported. So the good side, we are actually producing stop dying at the hand of point.